It's hole 18 at the World Championships. You're 150 feet away from the basket, and all you need to do is get up and down to secure your world title. What disc do you reach for? If you hesitated at all, definitely keep watching. And even if you didn't, make sure you're throwing a smart approach disc. Besides your putting putters and throwing putters, most people have some sort of overstable approach disc in their bag so they can confidently throw approaches even when the wind is up. For most approach shots, I'll usually just throw my throwing putter, which is the Dynamic Discs Lucid Warden. I can throw it on a gentle hyzer and get it up next to the basket, but if the wind picks up, if I have some sort of headwind or any sort of wind, or if I need to throw a forehand approach, I'm going to want something a little bit more overstable with a little bit less glide, because that Warden can fly unreliably if the wind is up. So in that case, I have a Dynamic Disc Suspect in my bag, or other people like to have a Dynamic Disc Slammer, or even something like a Marshall. It's just a more overstable putter. People generally pick overstable approach discs because they don't want to worry about overpowering them, and they want them to maintain the angle that they throw them on out of their hand. So whether that's a backhand or a forehand, if I throw it on an angle, an overstable disc is going to hold that angle even if the wind is coming at it. Also, overstable discs generally have less glide. So something like a slammer here has a glide of 2, whereas if I go find this deputy, this disc has a glide of 4. Now, it might not seem like a huge difference, but it makes a big difference when you're trying to land something next to the basket. If I overpower a glide 2 disc by 10%, it's going to go only about 5 feet farther. Whereas if I overpower a glide 4 disc, it's going to go maybe 10 or 15 feet farther, and that can be the difference in making the putt or missing it. Some people like to throw their fairway drivers as approach discs, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It just requires a lot more touch. I'll give you an example. If I'm trying to throw a 200-foot approach and I can throw this felon around 300 feet, it's going to require me to throw it at anywhere from 65 to 70% to get inside the circle. Whereas the suspect here, I can only throw out to about 250 feet. So I can throw it anywhere from 70 to 80% and still be inside the circle on that 200-foot approach. So if you're having a little bit of trouble dialing in the touch with your approach shots and you're throwing something a little bit faster, try something slower and seeing if dialing up the power and having a bigger margin for error lets you stick it inside the circle. It's a good idea to choose an approach disc that you can throw both backhand and forehand. For most people, that's going to be a fairly low-profile disc like the Suspect or the Slammer, because those are going to have a little bit cleaner release on that forehand. Most people, when they choose an approach disc, like to have a softer plastic, and that's just so it'll stick a little bit better next to the basket. I have a Lucid Justice, and if I were to throw that for approaches, it tends to get a lot of skip, so that can be inconsistent if the grass is longer or shorter, or if it hits a rock or not. Something with a little bit more give to it, like this soft Suspect here has quite a bit of give, so I can throw it fairly hard, and wherever it hits the ground, it's probably going to stop within about 5 or 10 feet of that, whereas that Lucid Justice could stop right there, or it could go another 20 or 25 feet. The Prime Slammer here is the firmest plastic here, but this is still a putter plastic, and these putter plastics have a lot more friction in them. They tend to grab the ground a lot better on those approach shots. So something like a Prime or a Classic or all the way down to a soft is going to be ideal for those approach shots. But the most important thing is that you practice. I love going out on a windy day and I find a field and I'll pick a tree or throw a disc and imagine that that's my basket, and I will work with my approach discs until I am confident that I can get up and down from 150 or 200 feet in any wind, both backhand and forehand. That's what's really important in instilling confidence in you and your approach disc. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and ring the bell here at Dynamic Disc so you don't miss all the other content that we have coming out. Make sure you check out Physics of Flight if you're looking for more instructional content. And as always, thanks for watching.